The Weeknd is probably dropping his new album Hurry Up Tomorrow next month in November of 2024, and obviously the question looms about what will come after this record. He said that this would be his last album as The Weeknd, and today we're going to talk about how he can really exit on a great note and this album be a classic, and him then retire the name of The Weeknd. So let's jump straight into this.
If you want to stay up to date with everything surrounding hip-hop, make sure to subscribe and also become a part of this community by joining our Discord server in the description.
Real quick, if you don't want to listen to this, make sure to skip 10 seconds into the future, but you can now sign up for my free newsletter with the first link in the description. It comes every Sunday and recaps everything that's been happening in hip-hop over the past week, so make sure to do that. So The Weeknd is on a pretty successful run right now. With his single Timeless with Playboi Carti, he just earned his biggest chart debut in his career with number 3, which is still crazy to think about that he never debuted above number 3, and he also broke the record, or at least the kind of temporary record, of the first male artist in 2024 to accumulate more than 10 billion streams on Spotify, despite the last album, Dawn FM, being released in 2022, which is a crazy number to consider. I mean, that is actually insane. So big shout outs to Abel for breaking all these records. But with the success of Timeless, the latest single, and the excitement for this new album continuing to go on, I also quickly wanted to note that I actually kind of changed my mind on Timeless. I now think it's a pretty great song, and I can see it being on the record. Let me just say that. But obviously, we have this album date coming up. We don't have an exact date, but the shows in Australia, Melbourne, and Sydney are kind of, the first part is now over. Melbourne, we saw some crazy clips of him performing there. He posted it on his social media. Sydney is up next later on in October, and he did say that he wanted to do those shows before entering the new era, which he's obviously teasing at with this entire rollout of the name of the album, then also the cover, the singles, Dancing in the Flames, and also Timeless, being kind of rolled out simultaneously to this Australia tour now going on. So we know that that's kind of the last thing that he wants to do before closing the chapter and moving on to this new Hurry Up Tomorrow era. And I mean, if you take a look at the schedule about how this thing could be rolling out, we had Dancing in the Flames a couple of weeks ago. The latest one was Timeless, only I believe like 4 weeks after Dancing in the Flames. It really wasn't that long after. There is the rumor that there's going to be one more single, namely Take Me Back to LA, that he previewed in Sao Paulo. So we could see a release date for that still in between the shows up until Sydney. So either, I mean, we have a Friday coming up, the 11th or the 18th then, and then after the 25th, the show is already over. So maybe in the next 3 weeks, we'll get more info on a third single with Take Me Back to LA, but I'll keep you all updated, so make sure you stay subscribed in case we get any news on that and if there's any situation that is happening. Now, as we touched on at the beginning, he did say in an interview for W Magazine that this last album, Hurry Up Tomorrow, at some point still titled Afterlife, which is now not anymore, but still, is going to be his last. Namely, he said, the album I'm working on now is probably my last hooray as The Weeknd. This is something that I have to do. As The Weeknd, I've said everything I can say. And this has scared a lot of people. This has led people to believe that he's completely retiring after dropping this next album that is now Hurry Up Tomorrow, probably in November still this year. But you know, that's not really the case. He's not retiring completely. He's just retiring the name The Weeknd, and he'll still go on to release music. At least that's kind of what he hinted at, or the only way that he could do this, under his real name Abel Tesfaye, which I think actually is a pretty great idea to do. We've had artists do this, over the course of the last couple of years. I mean, I still remember, Mac Miller releasing a jazz album under his alter ego, and artists just having these other alter egos to try different things and really express themselves in a different way that will maybe hurt the image of the artist figure, the persona, the brand that they created under their actual stage name, the one that they got famous with, or the one that they have the most success with, and the one that the people love the music of the most, which with The Weeknd is obviously The Weeknd. And if Abel goes on to do other things, then that will likely not have the same style as The Weeknd, because otherwise he could have just went on to do the stuff with The Weeknd. That's not to say that the new stuff will be bad though, I just think it will be different. And to have different things, different labels for different sounds, I believe is a pretty good idea. And I mean, if you just take a look at it objectively, it's always the best decision to go out when you're on top. I mean, so many artists have fall-offs, have declines, not only commercially, but also in their reputation, in the way even their own fans perceive them. I mean, take Kanye as the best example of the moment right now. A lot of fans are really doubting him, really didn't like his last couple of releases. I do hope Kanye can make a comeback. But with The Weeknd, that discussion was never there. I mean, Dawn FM was still pretty loved by everybody, and this new album is hyped as no other Weeknd album was before that. So The Weeknd is really going out on top, and that is the best decision that he could make. And I mean, what he's referring to by, having said everything he could say as The Weeknd, it's likely that exact journey of him up to this point. I mean, we went through that trilogy of After Hours, this rock star lifestyle with anything you can imagine, but with heartbreak, something still missing, to the purgatory phase of Dawn FM, where he really finds himself in a dire situation as the result of that After Hours rockstar lifestyle. And now we're getting into this hurry up tomorrow phase, this afterlife phase, you can still metaphorically call it, of him being reborn, everything that was hinted at so far with all the trailers, with the child version of himself going through the different phases of The Weeknd, and this all comes full circle. Also consider this aspect, and I've touched on this before, but ending his career with a trilogy and starting it with a trilogy. And I mean, the OG trilogy that released in 2011 with House of Balloons, Thursday, and Echoes of Silence. And I mean, this is just a full circle moment when it comes to this trilogy aspect. And I think closing your career off while you're at the top with an amazing record, obviously, that's still in line with the concept and the narrative of the trilogy that it's part of, obviously. And this kind of, having this wrap around your career, having a starting point, having an end point, some great albums in the middle, is the best way that he can do this. I mean, this is probably, let me put it like this. This is one of the most well thought out plans for your career, especially for your musical career, and ending it at a certain point that you could have. I mean, a lot of artists end their careers and they say, this is my last album, I'm retiring. But in the case of The Weeknd, I can honestly see that. I mean, Abel is one of the few people, one of the few artists that I actually, when he says it, I buy it. That he's actually not ever going to release anything under the name The Weeknd anymore, because he wants that name to be protected. And he's kind of left that chapter in the past after this next album as this perfectly told story, and everything he could have said in this perfectly encapsulated story and career. And he's going to move on to do other things, probably movies, because he's, had his show The Idol on HBO and did a couple of roles in there. And I mean, he's one of the only people that I could really see this do. So, if this album is really good, if it's in line with the narrative of the entire trilogy, this would be the best way that he can end his career and retire the name of The Weeknd, not himself, but the name The Weeknd, with a classic album, and honestly, one of the best musical careers that we've ever had. I've gotten the chance to witness. Now, obviously, this is just my opinion on this. Just something that I was thinking about the last couple of days, because I found it so admirable that The Weeknd, has this well thought out plan. I mean, not a lot of artists have that, but let me know what y'all think about all of this in the comments down below.
If you watched this video to the end and liked it, and you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button, and go follow my social media, and most importantly, join my Discord in the description. Until the next one, you'll have an incredible day, and y'all take care.